In a world where the masks we wear often become our identities, vulnerability stands as a quiet rebellion, a rebellion not against others, but against our own fears. We live in a society where appearances are prioritized over authenticity, where we're taught to hide our flaws and paint over our scars instead of embracing them as part of our unique story. But vulnerability is the truth that breaks through all pretense. It holds the key to connecting with others, to seeing each other for who we really are, and to understanding whether someone is truly being real with us or hiding behind the illusion of a carefully crafted facade. When we ask a question with vulnerability, we are not just seeking an answer. We are offering a glimpse into our own hearts. We are showing the world that we are willing to risk being hurt or disappointed in order to understand the truth. A narcissist, on the other hand, will rarely engage with vulnerability in the same way. Their primary mode of operation is to control, to protect their own sense of superiority, and to maintain an image that's as far removed from the raw, messy truth as possible. They thrive in environments where their power remains unquestioned, and they will use charm, manipulation, and avoidance to keep others from seeing who they truly are. But when we ask a question that comes from a place of genuine curiosity, when we let go of the fear of judgment, we invite others into a space where they must either meet us with honesty or reveal their true colors. This is where the power of vulnerability comes in. A simple question, when asked with an open heart and a willingness to receive whatever comes, can be a mirror that reflects the intentions of those we're interacting with. For example, when you ask a narcissist, "What do you need from me?" you're not just offering them an opportunity to speak, you're giving them a moment to reveal whether they truly care about your needs or if they are simply interested in taking from you. This question, seemingly innocuous, strips away the layers of pretense and reveals the heart of the matter. A narcissist may answer with something that keeps them in the center of the conversation, perhaps a response that redirects back to their own desires or needs. On the other hand, a person who is genuinely engaged in the relationship will respond with something that acknowledges your worth and opens the door for mutual exchange. It's in these moments that the truth comes to light, and we are shown whether the person in front of us is capable of real connection or if they are merely playing a part in a performance designed to secure their own validation. But it's not just about exposing the narcissist. It's also about protecting ourselves. Vulnerability does not mean we let down our guard blindly. It means we choose to trust ourselves enough to ask the hard questions, knowing that the answers will guide us toward the clarity we seek. It's about becoming strong enough to stand in the discomfort of uncertainty where the possibility of rejection exists, but where the potential for genuine connection also resides. When we ask these powerful questions, we empower ourselves to choose how we want to engage with others based on the truth we uncover. However, it's important to remember that vulnerability is not just about the questions we ask. It's about the space we hold when we ask them. We must create an environment that invites openness, where both parties feel safe enough to drop their defenses. Vulnerability is a dance, not a demand. It's about being willing to hear answers that may challenge us, hurt us, or even surprise us. It requires a deep trust in ourselves to know that no matter what the answer is, we are strong enough to face it and wise enough to act accordingly. In the context of a narcissistic relationship, the power of vulnerability is a shield as much as it is a sword. When you ask that question, when you offer a moment of true curiosity, you are also testing the ground beneath your feet. You are finding out whether the relationship is built on mutual respect or if it is built on one-sided manipulation. And the beauty of this power is that it doesn't require anyone else's approval. You can stand in your truth, ask your question, and let the truth that follows be the guide that shapes your decisions. The question itself doesn't need to be grand or complex. It simply needs to be honest. In the end, vulnerability offers us a way out of the fog of manipulation and self-deception. By embracing the courage to ask questions from a place of openness, we expose what is hidden, and we expose it not just to the world, but to ourselves. When we ask with authenticity, we are giving ourselves permission to see what is real and to walk away from what no longer serves us. We are creating space for the people who are capable of true connection and letting go of those who are only interested in maintaining control. That is the power of vulnerability, the power to see the truth and to let the truth set us free. In our journey toward understanding ourselves and navigating the complex relationships we form, it is essential to distinguish between two very different, yet often conflated concepts: self-awareness and self-obsession. These terms may seem similar on the surface as both involve the self, but they operate in fundamentally different ways. The understanding of these differences is not only crucial for our personal growth, but also for how we engage with the world around us. Without clarity, we can easily slip from the space of genuine self-awareness into the isolating and often destructive grip of self-obsession. Self-awareness is the ability to reflect on and understand our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors without judgment. It's an open and honest exploration of who we are, the values we hold, and how we impact those around us. It's about observing ourselves with compassion, being curious about our responses, and seeking to learn from both our strengths and our weaknesses. A self-aware person is in touch with their inner world, aware of their triggers, their desires, and their fears, but equally, they are mindful of how their actions and words ripple out into the world, and they recognize the interconnectedness of human experience. Self-awareness nurtures growth, empathy, and understanding, allowing us to navigate life with wisdom and balance. Self-obsession, however, is a very different thing. At its core, self-obsession is about being trapped in a cycle of excessive focus on the self to the point where we lose sight of everything and everyone else. It's a state of constant self-reflection where our thoughts and feelings are shaped not by genuine self-reflection, but by an incessant need for validation, control, and attention. A self-obsessed person is often more interested in how they are perceived by others, how they can be admired, or how they can manipulate circumstances to their advantage. Their sense of self-worth is tied not to internal growth, but to external validation, and their actions are often driven by the desire to maintain their image rather than to evolve as a person. The critical difference lies in the outward versus inward focus. Self-awareness is rooted in an honest and balanced exploration of the self, while self-obsession is rooted in the need to inflate or protect the self at all costs. In self-awareness, we are comfortable with both our light and our shadow. We do not fear our imperfections, but instead we acknowledge them with grace, understanding that they are part of the whole. We seek to grow not because we feel broken, but because we are always striving to align with the highest version of ourselves. Self-awareness fosters resilience, curiosity, and openness to change, while self-obsession breeds rigidity, defensiveness, and the inability to see beyond our own desires. In a world that often celebrates individual achievement, the line between self-awareness and self-obsession can become blurry. Many of us are conditioned to believe that the pursuit of success and recognition is a reflection of who we are and our worth. Yet the truth is that success achieved through self-obsession is often shallow and fleeting, built on fragile foundations that can collapse when challenged. Self-obsession leads to burnout, anxiety, and a sense of emptiness because it is always chasing something external, whether it's approval, admiration, or control, never finding contentment in the present moment. Self-awareness, on the other hand, creates a foundation that is steady and strong, rooted in self-acceptance and the ability to face challenges with grace and authenticity. Why does understanding the difference matter so deeply in our lives? Because our relationships, our sense of peace, and our capacity for growth are all shaped by which lens we view ourselves through. When we operate from a place of self-awareness, we are able to engage deeply with others, listening not only to what they say, but also to what is unsaid, what is felt beneath the surface. We are able to show up with empathy because we understand our own struggles, fears, and limitations. Self-awareness allows us to meet others where they are, without judgment or the need for validation, but with a genuine desire to connect and understand. On the contrary, when we are trapped in self-obsession, we become disconnected from others. We are so wrapped up in our own thoughts, needs, and desires that we miss the subtle signals of those around us. Our relationships become transactional as we focus more on how others perceive us than on how we can truly support and care for them. Self-obsession isolates us, leaving us lonely despite our constant pursuit of attention. The truth is, when we are consumed by our own image and needs, we fail to see the full humanity of others, and we limit the depth and richness of our connections. So how can we cultivate self-awareness while avoiding the pitfall of self-obsession? The first step is to ground ourselves in a deep sense of self-compassion. This means accepting ourselves fully, our flaws, our mistakes, and our growth areas without harsh judgment. It's about creating space for ourselves to reflect without becoming consumed by perfectionism or the need to prove our worth. Secondly, we must make a conscious effort to engage with the world outside of ourselves. True self-awareness is not a solitary endeavor. It's a relational process. It's about being present with others, listening with empathy, and showing up with authenticity. Finally, we must practice gratitude. Gratitude brings us back to the present moment and shifts our focus away from what we don't have or what others think of us to what we can give, what we've already been blessed with, and the beauty of simply being. In the end, the difference between self-awareness and self-obsession is the difference between growth and stagnation, connection and isolation, peace and turmoil. When we embrace self-awareness, we open the door to deep personal transformation and we invite others to join us on that journey. It is a life rooted in truth and vulnerability, not in performance or superficial appearances. And it is only through the steady, gentle cultivation of self-awareness that we can begin to see ourselves clearly, and in turn, begin to see others for who they truly are, beyond the masks and the facades. One of the most profound acts of self-love we can engage in is the act of setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are the lines we draw that protect our peace, our values, and our emotional well-being. Yet, for many of us, the very thought of setting boundaries can trigger fear, guilt, and discomfort. We fear that others might be upset, that we might be labeled as selfish or difficult, or that we might hurt someone we care about. But what if I told you that the most courageous thing you can do is to ask the tough questions, to voice your needs, and to set clear boundaries without fear of the consequences? What if setting boundaries is actually a way of showing the world and yourself how much you truly value your own worth? The truth is, boundaries are essential for healthy relationships. They allow us to show up authentically without sacrificing ourselves for the sake of others. They help us create space to nurture our mental and emotional health, to stay aligned with our values, and to engage with others in a way that respects both our needs and theirs. Without boundaries, we run the risk of losing ourselves in the process of trying to please, accommodate, or make others comfortable. And while it may seem like the compassionate choice to always give and always bend, the truth is that this kind of self-sacrifice often leads to burnout, resentment, and the slow erosion of our self-worth. We cannot pour from an empty cup, and we cannot truly love others if we do not first love and respect ourselves. Setting boundaries, however, isn't always easy. It requires a deep understanding of who we are, what we stand for, and what we are unwilling to tolerate. It takes courage to look at the relationships in our lives and ask ourselves the tough questions. What am I allowing that I shouldn't? What do I need in order to feel safe and respected? Where have I been compromising my own peace to keep others comfortable? These questions, though uncomfortable, are necessary for our growth. They are the foundation upon which we begin to build a life that reflects our true values and aligns with our authentic self. And asking these questions with honesty and vulnerability while acknowledging the discomfort they may cause is a step toward embracing the courage to set clear boundaries. One of the most important aspects of setting boundaries is the realization that we do not need anyone else's permission to do so. The fear of rejection, of disappointing others, or of facing conflict can hold us back from speaking our truth. But the reality is that when we remain silent, we allow others to dictate our lives, our emotional state, and sometimes even our sense of self. Boundaries are not about controlling others, they are about taking control of our own lives and emotional health. They are about saying, this is who I am, and this is what I need in order to thrive. And while it may feel uncomfortable at first, there is deep freedom in this act of assertion. Asking tough questions without fear requires a radical shift in how we view ourselves and our needs. It means understanding that our worth is not contingent upon the approval or validation of others. We often fear that asking for what we need will make us appear weak, needy, or demanding. But in truth, the ability to clearly express our needs is a sign of strength, self-respect, and emotional intelligence. It is an act of courage to ask for what we deserve, to stand firm in the face of resistance, and to trust that our voice matters. When we ask tough questions, we send a message not only to others, but also to ourselves, that we are worthy of respect, consideration, and care. And it is only when we own our worth that we can invite others to treat us with the same dignity. At the heart of this courage is the practice of self-compassion. We must remember that setting boundaries is not a selfish act. It is an act of self-preservation. It is an acknowledgement that we are deserving of the same respect and kindness that we so often give to others. When we set boundaries, we are honoring our feelings, our values, and our emotional health. But setting boundaries also means we must be prepared to navigate the discomfort that may arise. Not everyone will understand or appreciate our boundaries, and some may even challenge them. But the more we practice standing firm, the more we build our confidence and our inner resilience. We must learn to sit with the discomfort of others' reactions without allowing them to dictate our choices. Another key aspect of boundary setting is clarity. To ask tough questions, we must be clear about what we need, what we will tolerate, and what we won't. Often we avoid asking tough questions because we fear the ambiguity of the situation, or we worry that we will be misunderstood. But clarity in our communication is the foundation of healthy boundaries. When we are clear about our needs, others are better able to respond in ways that are respectful and supportive. And even if they don't respond in the way we hope, the clarity with which we speak helps us remain grounded in our own truth. It's an invitation to others to engage with us in a way that honors both of us, and it sets the tone for the kind of relationship we are willing to cultivate. In relationships, whether personal or professional, boundaries are often the key to maintaining mutual respect and fostering a healthy dynamic. It is easy to fall into patterns of overgiving, overcommitting, or silencing ourselves to keep the peace. But these behaviors ultimately erode our sense of self and leave us feeling depleted. The courage to set boundaries means taking a step back and recognizing that in order to be the best partner, friend, or colleague, we must first care for our own needs. We must ask the tough questions. Am I being heard? Am I being respected? Am I sacrificing my own well-being for the sake of others? And when we ask these questions, we are taking back control of our own lives and making room for relationships that are balanced, nurturing, and supportive. Finally, remember that setting boundaries is a practice. It's not something that happens overnight, and it's not something that is always easy. There will be times when we falter, when we shrink back in fear, when we allow our needs to be overridden. But each time we ask the tough questions and set a boundary, we grow stronger in our ability to do so again and again. We begin to understand that boundaries are not walls that separate us from others. They are bridges that allow us to connect in healthier, more authentic ways. And as we embrace the courage to set those boundaries, we create space for true intimacy, respect, and connection to flourish. In our journey through life, we encounter many different faces, many different personas. Some of these faces we wear ourselves and some we encounter in others. But there is one face that is particularly elusive: the mask. The mask is a protective covering, a carefully constructed identity that shields the person behind it from vulnerability, fear, and pain. It hides their true self, often because that true self has been buried, rejected, or suppressed. The most insidious mask of all is the one worn by the narcissist. Behind that mask lies a false self that is carefully designed to protect their fragile ego, but it is not who they really are. To recognize this mask and to see beyond it requires awareness, patience, and a willingness to look past the surface. The narcissist mask is an elaborate facade designed to project strength, confidence, and invulnerability. On the outside, they appear charming, charismatic, and self-assured, someone who commands attention and admiration. They are skilled at presenting themselves in ways that others find appealing, flattering, or even awe-inspiring. But beneath this veneer lies a deeply insecure person who craves validation and seeks to control the narrative of their life at all costs. This mask, though polished and alluring, is a shield, a barrier that keeps others at arm's length, preventing true connection and intimacy. The narcissist wears this mask so well that even they may start to believe it is who they truly are. The danger of the narcissist's mask is that it can be so convincing that it deceives not only others, but also the person wearing it. Over time, the mask becomes a prison. The narcissist becomes so entangled in their false persona that they lose touch with their authentic self. They may not even realize that the mask is not the real them, but rather a coping mechanism created in response to deep emotional wounds, fears, and unmet needs. The narcissist's reliance on their mask to navigate the world prevents them from engaging in true self-reflection, growth, and healing. Instead, they become stuck in a cycle of protecting their fragile sense of self-worth at any cost, often by manipulating and controlling those around them. Recognizing the mask is not always easy. The narcissist is masterful at manipulation and can quickly identify and exploit our vulnerabilities to maintain their facade. They will tell us what we want to hear, play on our emotions, and even present themselves as the perfect partner, friend, or colleague. At first, it can seem like a dream come true. They may shower us with compliments, affection, and attention, making us feel special and valued. But as time goes on, cracks begin to appear. The narcissist may become defensive when challenged, dismissive when questioned, or even cruel when their image is threatened. These behaviors are the cracks in the mask, the moments when the true self is revealed and the false self begins to falter. The first step in recognizing the narcissist's mask is to pay attention to the inconsistencies. A person who wears a mask is often disconnected from their true feelings, and this disconnect shows up in their interactions. They may say one thing but do another, or they may be all talk with no substance. Their words may sound genuine, but their actions often fail to align with what they say. The narcissist is not concerned with authenticity. They are concerned with preserving their image. So when their actions don't match their words, when they fail to back up their promises, or when their behavior becomes erratic, it's a sign that the mask is slipping. These moments can be subtle, but if we are paying attention, they are clues that the person is not who they appear to be. Another powerful indicator of the narcissist's mask is their inability to truly empathize with others. Narcissists often project an image of caring and concern, but this is only surface level. Their empathy is typically conditional based on what they can gain from the relationship. If they sense that their image is threatened, their ability to care about others diminishes. True empathy requires vulnerability, the ability to see and connect with others' pain, joy, and humanity. But the narcissist behind the mask is unable to do this because they are too focused on themselves. They are more interested in how others view them than in understanding or supporting others. This lack of empathy is one of the clearest signs that the mask is in place, shielding them from authentic connection. The mask also creates a sense of instability and unpredictability in relationships with narcissists. Because their identity is not grounded in authenticity, they constantly shift to meet their own needs for admiration and control. One day they may be charming and affectionate, and the next they may be distant and critical. This emotional whiplash can be exhausting for those around them, and it keeps others on edge, uncertain of what to expect. The narcissist's need for validation and control is insatiable, and it's this constant need that drives them to maintain the mask. The emotional roller coaster they create is a tactic designed to keep others invested so that they can continue feeding off of the attention and admiration they crave. Unveiling the narcissist mask requires strength and clarity. It's easy to get caught in their web of manipulation and deceit, especially when we are emotionally invested or when they present themselves as someone who needs us. But we must recognize that their false self is not our responsibility to nurture or fix. To protect ourselves, we must learn to trust our instincts, to see the red flags, and to acknowledge the inconsistencies in their behavior. We must recognize that the charming, confident persona they present is just a performance, a mask they wear to shield themselves from the pain of vulnerability and self-doubt. And once we see the mask for what it is, we can begin to disentangle ourselves from the relationship, understanding that the true person behind the mask may never be accessible because they have buried their real self too deeply beneath the layers of falsehood. Ultimately, recognizing the masks people wear is about reclaiming our own sense of truth and authenticity. It's about understanding that the false self is not the real person and that we are not obligated to engage with or validate that false self. When we see through the mask, we free ourselves from the manipulation and control that comes with narcissism. We stop buying into the illusion and start seeing the person for who they truly are, or perhaps for who they are not. And in that moment of clarity, we are empowered to make decisions that honor our own worth and well-being. The mask may remain in place, but our understanding of its limitations and deception gives us the courage to walk away, to let go, and to embrace the authenticity of our own journey. In a world where distractions and noise often drown out the quiet whispers of our hearts, truth has the power to cut through the clutter and reveal the path forward. Truth, in its purest form, has a transformative quality. It holds the ability to heal, to reveal, and to illuminate the way when we feel lost in the darkness of confusion and uncertainty. One of the most powerful ways to access this truth is through the art of asking questions. Specifically, powerful questions that pierce through the surface and lead us to the heart of the matter. These questions, though sometimes uncomfortable, hold the potential to catalyze profound clarity and healing. At the core of every question is an invitation to explore, to understand, and to grow. When we ask a powerful question, we are not seeking a simple answer. We are opening ourselves up to a deeper level of understanding. We are challenging the status quo, shedding the layers of illusion and falsehood that we may have built around ourselves, and stepping into the discomfort of honesty. In this way, a powerful question can act as a mirror, reflecting back to us the truth we may have been avoiding or unaware of. It is through this process of reflection that healing begins, for healing can only occur when we face the truth of our situation with courage and vulnerability. Speaking, a powerful question requires not only the willingness to seek answers, but also the bravery to confront whatever those answers may reveal. Often, the questions that bring the most clarity are the ones that challenge us to look at ourselves honestly. What am I avoiding? Why am I afraid to speak my truth? What am I pretending not to know? These are the kinds of questions that can unravel the tightly held stories we tell ourselves, the stories that keep us stuck in patterns of fear, doubt, and pain. When we ask these questions out loud, we bring them into the light, and in that moment, something shifts within us. The very act of naming what has been hidden begins the process of transformation. But asking a powerful question is not always easy. There is fear in the unknown, and there is fear in the potential discomfort that follows when we allow ourselves to truly listen to the answers that arise. What if the truth is more painful than we can bear? What if the answer challenges everything we thought we knew about ourselves or our relationships? These fears are natural, yet they are also the very reason why speaking powerful questions is so crucial. The longer we avoid these questions, the more we stay trapped in cycles of confusion, self-deception, and stagnation. But when we have the courage to speak our truth and to ask the questions that matter, we create space for real healing and growth. A powerful question does more than simply bring clarity. It also opens the door to deeper connection and understanding. When we ask a question from a place of genuine curiosity and vulnerability, we invite others to do the same. We create an environment in which truth can flourish and healing can take place. Relationships, whether personal or professional, are built on trust and transparency. When we ask the tough questions and face the answers together, we build a foundation of authenticity and mutual respect. The courage to ask questions, both of ourselves and others, strengthens the bonds that hold us together, for it is through vulnerability and honesty that we learn to truly see each other. One of the most profound gifts of speaking a powerful question is the clarity it brings. Often we spend our lives wandering in the fog of uncertainty, unsure of who we are or what we want. We may be caught in patterns of indecision, wondering whether we are on the right path or whether we are simply avoiding the difficult work of confronting our inner truths. A single powerful question can cut through this fog and shine a light on the path that lies before us. What do I truly want? What is holding me back from living the life I know I am meant to live? These questions bring clarity by stripping away the layers of fear, doubt, and distraction, revealing the core of what we need to see. Clarity gives us direction and purpose, and it allows us to move forward with greater confidence and intention. Healing, too, is a natural consequence of speaking the truth and asking the powerful questions that lead us to it. Healing occurs when we no longer deny our pain, our fears, or our limitations. It happens when we stop running from the truth and begin to accept it with grace and compassion. The powerful question is the catalyst for this healing because it challenges us to confront the very things we have been avoiding. Whether it is the question that forces us to acknowledge a toxic relationship, the question that uncovers an unhealed wound, or the question that invites us to release old patterns of self-sabotage, the truth that emerges from these inquiries has the power to heal the deepest parts of ourselves. Healing is not about escaping the pain, but rather it is about embracing the truth of our experience and allowing that truth to transform us. Asking powerful questions and speaking our truth is not a one-time event. It is a practice. It requires ongoing courage, vulnerability, and a willingness to continue seeking deeper truths, even when the answers are difficult or unexpected. The more we practice this act of speaking truth and asking questions, the more we grow into the fullness of who we are meant to be. We become less afraid of the discomfort that comes with facing the truth, and we begin to trust that the process of uncovering the truth is always worth it. Every question we ask, every truth we speak brings us one step closer to healing and to living a life of authenticity and purpose. Ultimately, the transformative power of truth lies in its ability to free us. Truth is not something to be feared. It is the key to unlocking our potential, our peace, and our deepest joy. By speaking powerful questions, we invite truth into our lives and allow it to guide us toward clarity, healing, and growth. The more we embrace truth as a transformative tool, the more we learn to trust ourselves and our own inner wisdom. In doing so, we reclaim our power and step into a life that is not dictated by fear, but by the courage to live in alignment with the truest version of ourselves.